Coach Mark Stoops. We'll start with an opening statement from the coach, and then we will throw it open for questions using the raise hand feature. Coach Stoops.
I can't see anything on there, Tonya.
TV needs to be on.
Good to turn the TV on so I can see what I'm looking at here.
There you go.
Good to go? Okay. Going back and looking at the Ole Miss tape, certainly there's a lot of good things to build on offensively. I thought we played extremely well. Really did some good things offensively. We're very efficient, moved the football. I was very pleased with Terry Wilson. I thought he really bounced back. We challenged him. After the opener, he came back in the second game there and played really well. He rushed for 147 yards, and we needed to put some of that on him. We wanted to put some pressure on their defense with our Q run game. That adds a lot of pressure on a defense. You could see how effective we were at running the football, also throwing the ball. He was very effective, 14 of 18 for 151 yards, really with just 2 complete drops. He's gonna throw for 200 yards and rush for 147, and could have been more in the pass game easily. We were just having so much success in the run game. And also we were struggling so much defensively that when we were getting ready to throw the ball, we felt like there were some plays there for sure. We just kept on getting chunks in the run game, and obviously it helped us with getting the defensive rest for a bit, because there was parts of that game where we were just really out of sorts defensively. And, so I think a big part of it was, defensively, we just didn't play good enough, period. We need to put our players in a better position. We need to coach better. We need to play better. That team puts extreme pressure on you with how fast they go. It is extremely, extremely fast. And sometimes, there are times in that game we played so many plays very well. And then there's plays where they're going to make you pay, and they're going to get chunks. And they did. We have been very good at not giving up explosive plays, and gave up way too many explosive plays in that game to be successful. And really that's the tail of the game. I thought offensively we played good enough to win. Even if you just look at our possessions, if you look at our drives, we had, I could give you, there's one play, and anytime they stopped us, there's one play in there that we hurt ourselves. One individual on our team hurt us, and those are things we could get corrected. That's football. That happens. And even, if you look at our defense, we had to defend quite a few possessions because of how fast they are. And if you look at the first half, they had 7 possessions and we held them to 2 touchdowns. You could live with that, as good as you're playing on offense and how explosive they are on offense. But the second half, not good enough for them to score 4 TDs on 6 possessions. You're not going to win very many football games that way. And we got to come up with a stop. And, that dictated a close game. Offensively, I felt like we were in a position to win a shootout. We missed the extra point, because I felt like we were completely rolling offensively at that time, and you like your chances in overtime, but that didn't happen. So credit Ole Miss. They really fought their way back from a 14-point deficit. And I could also point to maybe 3 plays in that game that if we make, we win. But that's everybody can say that. Each team can say that. It's a matter of getting it done. We got to go back to work every week. Whether you win or lose, you got to hit that reset button. So really kind of excited, to be honest with you, to get back at it. It was a miserable defeat and feeling Saturday, but extremely motivated on Sunday and Monday, because you got another great challenge ahead of you, and it kind of reinvigorates you, gets your juices going, because it's going to be a challenge. And you look at Mississippi State and Mike Leach, and I know Mike for a long time, and how good of a coach he is, and I know he's going to have his group fired up and ready to go after coming out and playing so so good in the first game, and not playing to the level of their expectation, I'm sure, in this past game. So I'm sure he'll have him ready to go. He's a lot to handle. He's going to do what he does, and I like the way that team plays. They play very hard on defense. Rocky Long does a great job, and they're playing extremely hard on defense. And you know what Mike can do offensively. He's as good as you get, and very creative, and puts a lot of pressure on you as well.
Okay, we'll throw it over for questions. First one will be from Eli again. Eli, go ahead, please.
Hey, Mark. Saw that Pro Football Focus College had Terry and Josh Ali as the second highest graded players from Saturday. I talked to Terry a couple weeks ago, and he said that Ali is his go-to guy. I'm just curious to see throughout camp, throughout the first two games, how you've seen those two just sort of gel together and what they can do better to be even better than what they are right now.
Yeah, I think they both have been working really well together. They both have been working really hard. I want to say both games. I know this past game, I think it was Josh in the first game, we had another explosive play there. We had a shot like down the field, possibly a touchdown, certainly a big play if we get a fraction more protection. And in both games, it came from our tight end position with the way we were protecting it, and we just got to fundamentally, hold up and protect just slightly better. I'm talking another half a second or a second. We get that block cleaned up, and we're going to strike Josh down the field on a huge play. And we're just been off on that, just fractions. And I think there's some big plays waiting for him out there. But they're both playing well. Josh made two or three really difficult catches that Terry, that's what good wideouts have to do. Terry throws the ball up, puts it in a spot, and Josh made a couple of nice catches, and that's how we're going to continue to elevate the passing game and get more and more confidence. And again, I felt like we could have most definitely threw the ball more efficiently and for more yards Saturday. We were doing the things necessary that we felt like to put us in a position to win. The run game was so effective, and we were getting so many explosive plays out of it. And again, as you know, in a game like that, playing such an explosive offense, if we're not playing good enough defense, we can't get behind the chains, because the time mattered, the yards mattered, and obviously points matter. We did score 41 points, and we get the extra point. I'm quite certain we're going to get some more.
Next is Nick Roush.
How would you characterize the mistakes made in the pass defense on those explosive plays?
There's a variety of things. We got beat one-on-one. We got beat in another jump ball tough matchup with a PI that was critical late in the game. I thought there was three, PIs that I'm not questioning the call. I'm just saying that were like bang, bang plays. Our defenders are challenging, talented wide receivers, and I'm okay with that. We got to make plays on the ball. And, it's very hard. They had a lot of stress on them. And then there were times when we just flat out didn't compete well enough. And that's not good enough. I feel like, we had some guys in there, and we got to find the right mixture. We had some guys with that set a couple things free that we don't normally do with access and with guys run down the field with deception, the tempo of the game, the way they operate, and the way they stress you from sideline to sideline. They're a little bit unique, even from this week. As much pressure as Mike puts on you, and the way they are so effective throwing the ball, it's different than this past week. That group's a bit unique with their style.
John Hale.
Mark, obviously your guys have battled through adversity before, even looking back to last year after that South Carolina game and turning around the season the way they did. How much does that experience help after an 0-2 start, knowing how difficult an SEC-only schedule is going to be this year?
It better. We need to. I certainly anticipate they will. I'm excited to get in our team meeting here in a little bit and get on with it. Face the reality of our situation. Nobody's going to point fingers. It's all about, watching, some plays and watching this film and walking away with, from that session with an understanding that, we can fix some of these things, we can play better, build on the good things that we're doing and get some things fixed. I feel confident that we will, but you never know. Each year, each team has a new identity. So this group has to step up, and I'm certainly going to lean on the leadership of this group, and everybody's got to look at themselves. When you fall to 0-2, you could respond, with the reality check of the situation is what it is. And you could fold to the pressure, or you could rise above it and man up, own it, and move on.
Josh Moore?
Hey, Mark, you kind of alluded to it a little bit there about finding the right combination of guys. Most years you would have had, I don't want to call them warm-up games, but games that weren't against SEC teams or teams that you can kind of, you have a talent advantage over in most cases. Just how do you, when you're trying to figure out those combinations, how do you weigh playing guys because you want to get reps and you want to see what those guys can do because you're going to need them versus just sticking with, people you can kind of rely on that have proven it?
Yeah, it is a tough call because every possession, every play in these SEC games are so critical. And, it's tough. I think through 2 games, we're getting a better understanding. And, there's maybe some cases where it's like you feel like athletically some guys can help you, but mentally they're hurting you. And so, there's that combination. You just got to find the right mixture. We have some options. We've got to find the right mix, and we've all got to do a better job and putting them in position and everybody owning their area of expertise and play better. I believe we will. That's the worst. I don't know. I mean, I didn't even look, Tony. I mean, you could probably tell me, but I mean, it's been a long time since we gave up 42 points. Now the league's changing. I'll say that. I feel like we're giving up a complete boatload of yards that I'm not real comfortable with. But you look down and you're sitting there like 6th in the league, and statistics don't mean anything other than winning and losing. But the league is changing a little bit. You look at what we're facing in Ole Miss. You look at what you're going to face here this week with Mike, and there's some teams that are extremely talented and moving the ball. And look at our offense. We sat there and had 560 yards this past week and rushed for 408. And again, we could have thrown it for more. We were doing, we were scratching where it itches. You know what I mean? If the run game was working, then we had to stay with it, and it was helping us. It was giving us an opportunity on both sides. And really, you look at, certain possessions. It drives us crazy because you got the AJ's play, which is inexcusable. You got a drop TV on another possession, but we had that possession at 2nd and 2. We make a wrong read, a wrong block on 2nd and 2 and lose yards that put us in that 3rd and 8, or else we're not behind that chain. We're still pounding. We had a chance to gut them on 2nd down, 2nd and 2, but we lose 5 yards and then we throw incomplete on 3rd and miss the field goal. That puts us up 10. If we get the touchdown, you're up 14 in the second half. And then the 3rd down, you get the sack on another possession that I'll take that. I was on the 35. We missed the twist, but I'll take that. It's aggressive play, but in hindsight, again, what do? You're on the 35-yard line. I didn't feel good about kicking it into the wind. In hindsight, you punt it down there trying to pin them. I got a great punter. Got to take advantage of that. And then another possession in the second half, we do throw the ball and we get a hold on the perimeter, or else, we were off and running on that play. So, I mean, again, we scored a lot of points. We moved the ball, but there's possessions out there that we left more points on the board. And those are the things we got to concentrate. But I'm pleased. I feel like there's a lot to build on offensively, defensively. We got to get some things fixed this week.
Your next question is Justin Rowland.
Hey, Mark, it seems like you got a pretty good sample to look at from what LSU did against Mississippi State and what Arkansas did, and just seems like they did two very different things. You feel like you've got a good amount of tape and you've learned quite a bit about what has worked and what has not, and just in general the challenge of preparing for a Mike Leach team.
Yeah, it's most definitely a challenge. I know, for them, it was a great, just like a previous question you were asking us about SEC play and the margin for error for most of us, it's small. I mean, and not playing teams outside of our league that we feel like obviously are better, some better matchups. But there's a great example of it. There's an Arkansas team that you see that Sam's doing a great job and showing signs, but they had lost 20 SEC games, and they do that to LSU the week before. Well, I think it's a great example of, how good Mike is and how much better his team will get throughout the year and throughout the years in their efficiency. With Arkansas, obviously they played a boatload of zones and all that. Well, that's different in that system. Mike is so precise, and the receivers got to get a feel for that, of finding the green grass, finding the spots, and doing it. And obviously weren't as sharp as they were against LSU, where there was a little bit more man. But even in the zone, they played faster. So I know Mike will be challenging them and getting them to play to their level. So, much like us, their backs will be against the wall, and they'll be coming out swinging and trying to play. But I think – I think that's what you can attribute it to in his style is of them just getting reps under their belt of what he's looking for in zone coverage and what he's looking for in man coverage, and their ability to read it and execute it quickly. And if you know anything about Mike, he'll get him on track quick.
Next is Gary Graves.
Mark, when you look at Terry's play, in terms of his taking off and running, he seems to be more patient this year in terms of doing that. I mean, he got the yards on Saturday, but does he seem to be more, calculated about when he takes off and runs, and especially when you look at how many passes he completed Saturday?
Yeah, without a doubt. And according to our receiver coach, it was 3 drops. One of them was an unbelievable throw that would have been a great catch on the sideline. But I really consider 2 flat drops, and so he could have been 16 of 18. And if you make a great catch on at a wide out, then he could have been 17 of 18. And if you look at the runs and the decision making you just mentioned, makes me think of the play that he got called back. How long was that run that he got called back on the hold? That had to be another 20-yard run on a pass play. That was a very good decision. It wasn't like he pulled it down quickly, didn't go through his progression. It was there. They lost contain. Certainly it contributed that we did, give him a slight hold. But he made a good decision there, and that took off another 20-yard run that he had or so, maybe more. I don't know what it was. But he did make good decisions. He went through his progressions. I thought he was very efficient in the passing game. And again, one play in particular, just give him a touch more protection, and we got a chance at a real explosive pass play. So, I thought he did a really good job. I had a lot of confidence in him throwing the ball Saturday with efficiency. Again, I want I appreciate him and the team doing the things necessary with how explosive they were playing offensively, and we were having success in the run game. We had to stay with that. When you rush for 408, you got to be an idiot to deviate from that.
Aaron Gershon.
Hey, Mark, kind of going off that, are you surprised to see Terry's speed and burst and just how confident he is taking hits given everything he went through with his knee? Or is that something you saw in the offseason that he was going to be able?
I saw it to some degree on the perimeter type stuff. In the first game, because of scheme and everything, we didn't ask him to hit it straight downhill with some of the read game that we did with Lynn. This week we did. We ran a straight power play with him several times, and he hit it, and he hit it good. And that I was impressed with. And that we challenged him with. That we have to have out of him. That is one of his skill sets. He is a dynamic runner. And he is getting stronger. That leg is completely healed. And I appreciate the fact that he went in there and stuck his nose in there. And yes, he got run, he got yards on scrambles and bought time to look down the field. And I always felt like he had a good feel for that. But in some of the designed Q run game, I thought he took a big step forward, and that's good to see. And that can put some pressure on defenses.
Nick Roush?
Cavassier Smoke wasn't on the depth chart, and Bryce Oliver, we didn't see him last week. Are there any injuries to report?
Yeah, Bryce should be back out there. I think he's on the depth chart. Bryce has been close. This last week, he traveled with us. He was close. So hopefully Bryce will be out there this week. We feel like he will. Cavassier will not be able to play this week. He'll be out for a couple weeks with and he got horse collar tackled and broke his ribs. Or broke a rib or cartilage in his ribs or whatever. It's a pretty painful injury. He'll be out for – it just depends how long he'll be out. We'll see how the pain goes.
John Hale?
Mark, last week Brad talked a lot about how making plays in key moments is the most important part of defense. For as much as you guys struggled on that side of the ball, how encouraging was that last drive in the fourth quarter when they made the stop? And what can you do to build off that a little bit?
Yeah, that was good, Nick. And I did appreciate that because I'm not going to lie. We had to – if we had to score with 4 minutes to go in the game, then score. You know what I mean? And in hindsight, I wish they did. But 2 minutes, was an eternity for them, and that was a big stop. Unfortunately for us, that their punter – drilled a kick and hit us, pinned us back there. It didn't give us that opportunity because I would have certainly liked to, try to win it in regulation, but that wasn't the right time. It was backed up as we were, and with the time that was left in our timeouts. But that was a good stop. It really was, and much needed. And at that point, I think you all watched the game and the way it was going and the way we were just holding on a bit in the second half defensively, getting in overtime gave us a great opportunity because I really felt like when we were ahead of the chains and in good field position, the way our offense was running and rolling it, you feel like you have a good opportunity. So.
All right, Josh Moore?
Hey again, Mark. Following up on John's question a little bit there. I mean, as the middle errors, things like that. I think both teams can probably come out of every game, with some of that stuff. But it seems like turnovers. If you take away your all's turnovers, even half of them, it's maybe the difference between 2-0. Do you subscribe to the idea that turnovers are kind of random, or is that something that you can have a lot more control over and something that you can really find ways to make that happen and be in your guys' favor?
Yeah, I think you could see to me, the fumbles are inexcusable. Those you could control. That's a technique issue that you got to protect the football. Interceptions sometimes are going to happen. Even, you look at, Mississippi State and Mike and how efficient they are at, passing efficiency. They're incredible and throw the heck out of the ball. But, you could get a tip. You can get, a receiver running the wrong route. You could get a great defense play. I mean, things happen, so I feel like, some interceptions are going to happen. Some of them are inexcusable. We all know that. Sometimes things happen, the ball bounces funny, or like I said, a D lineman gets his finger on it and a funny tip or, pressure, you name it. But I think, offensively, again, we got to stress and protecting it on fumbles. Terry's obviously got to make good decisions. And then, the disappointing part really comes from the defensive side of the ball that we're not getting turnovers. And that is concerning to me. And it's not good enough. It seems like both games there's balls, the football's floating around down there, and they did a nice job of scooping it up, but we have to create it. We have to create some turnovers. Sometimes the ball has to bounce your way. Other times, you have to create it. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, again, you guys probably know, but it was some statistic like this, but one year we were absolutely horrendous on defense. One of my first couple of years here, couldn't force a turnover, but somehow we led the country in recovered fumbles. So how do you describe that? You know what I mean? It's not like we were hitting them so hard the ball was popping out. It just, the ball bounced our way that year.
Okay, we're down to our last two questions. They'll come from John Long and Justin Rowland. John, go ahead first, please.
Mark, we all know how much you like to run the ball, and it's hard to argue with success, but you said yourself that some of the times the dynamics within the SEC is changing. And so how concerned are you about possibly becoming a little bit too one-dimensional? Is that a concern at all in your mind, not just in wins and losses, but in just recruiting and just the overall scope of the program?
Yeah, I think, that's a fair question. I mean, this is an odd time to make that argument considering the 408 yards and how good we played offensively in this last game. But if you're asking me big picture, yeah, I want to be better and I want to be more efficient throwing the football. Absolutely. I think that's a fair question, and I think we've worked hard at it. But again, I think that I'm going to be judged on wins and losses, and so you have to give our program the best opportunity to win games. And if it's Saturday where we needed to possess the ball a little bit and rush for 400 yards and have balance, then that's what we had to do. But again, that's a tough argument when you can sit there and say, execute a little better on a couple pass plays and he throws for 200 and rushes for 150 darn near. So that's a pretty, I don't think anybody would argue with that out of your quarterback.
And now we'll go to our final question with Justin Rowland.
Yeah, I could be mistaken about this, but it seems like Pascal and Quentin in particular are playing a whole lot. I don't remember defensive linemen playing quite as many snaps for you in recent years. And I didn't know if that was by design, just coming out with a couple of strong opponents leaning on seniority, or is how fast the other team maybe went, or kind of what your thoughts are on the defensive line rotation and just where that seems to be going.
Yeah, a little bit of all the above there. Josh can handle it. Josh can play a lot of snaps. And Quentin, you're talking about two older guys that have been around. They worked themselves into some shape. Part of it is how fast they were going. You can't substitute depending on how long the drives are and what possession they're in and how many snaps are on that possession. Unfortunately, in that game, they had I believe at least three quick scoring drives. So depending on what that rotation is, that affects it a bit. But definitely Josh is playing more, but he's playing so good and he can play fast for that many plays. He's been very disruptive and playing very well. And Q can handle it as well. With that kind of pace and that kind of tempo, the maturity of Quentin of getting lined up, getting a call and executing, was important. And so.
All right, Coach, thank you very much for your time today.
Good.
And we will see
Thank you.
tomorrow after practice.